Let's talk about society and politics. Presented by Smith Co. Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About Society and Politics, the new show. I guess it's all about society and politics in our world. And I thought for the first episode, if there is anyone listening. When I say listening, if there is anyone listening, I don't mean like if this becomes successful in the future and then you're listening back to it now. I mean like if there's anyone listening now that it's published and it's like a week or just today really, it's just been published and that. If you're listening to it now, well yeah, basically this is the first episode. In this we'll be talking with more about politics, we'll also be talking about society. So of course for today's episode I thought, how about we kick it off with the thing that, well I guess this is here for, talking about society and politics. And why, some people don't. I mean there's a certain view about it, which is, it's people don't always like to talk about politics, but it is a big issue. Obviously you could argue the argument which doesn't really hold up as much, which is, it's important to learn about what politicians are doing, what policies that people enforce, and then it's really just what is going on in society, because you don't want to be living in a society that you don't know really anything about except for, your bubble. So it's good to find out. Maybe you might enjoy that, or maybe you just want to learn about what's outside your bubble, what exactly you don't know about. Of course, apologise to people who might be listening and they might already know about some of these things, whether they've researched them or, if they are part of the bubble that this does enter. In that case, I apologise. So basically, why exactly don't people talk about politics? So, and really as well as when people talk about society, the issues that affect society. Well, I think that, at the root of it, there's kind of this idea of, you're not political and you don't know about politics. Because obviously, you can argue, I mean, you don't really. But that's an issue because, in democracies, oftentimes civil servants know, but what I'm saying is the actual people who are elected, tend not to know, or if they do, they don't really know about politics. They know about what affects them. So you'll see a lot of the time, there's a growing number of really kind of businessmen and businesswomen going into politics. And it's strange because you're like, well, you don't actually know anything about politics. You know stuff about business. And the problem is when you go into politics, you're going to make decisions that affect businesses. And obviously, it's not the same if someone says, as a recording, Facebook still exists. The app, not the corporation. So obviously, if you're in the future and you're lucky enough that Facebook doesn't exist, or maybe maybe something else will come along that's even worse. The point is that at the current moment, if you are elected, as a politician, and you own a business which makes a bit of money, you're unlikely to be making decisions that affect you when it comes to big corporations like Facebook, who there are numerous problems in your data breaches. There's a problem with collecting information on users where the consent is somewhat, you get consent, but only to the legal amount that's required. It's not true consent, and that's the sort of situation. You've got these businesses that are being fined, and you've got these other things, and that is understandable why that would happen. But that's the thing. Even then, you have this sort of thing where it's like an advantage in business, which is if you elect business people to government, they will make interests based on their own interests, because obviously there will be people there who will go, yes, I know this harms me, but it's what the people voted me for, and that is something that people want, so I'm going to go for it. But there are people out there who they may be very honest when it comes to everything else, but at the end of the day, if you've got that little, if you just you don't want to harm your own self, then then they won't be able to make the decisions that are against their own interests. And that's why there's an issue there, which is that you can't sort of say, oh well, I don't know nothing about politics. Yes, but that's why you talk about it. Because okay, I understand you don't want to seem like you know nothing about it, but I would say more like if you look at politicians, you don't really have to talk about it in the sense of being like someone who's just preaching to people. You don't have to be like that, because maybe you are like that about other things, or maybe you're not, and that's the point. So when you talk about things, it helps you learn a lot of the time, because you're having a conversation about it. You're learning. Maybe you will forget, but you're learning in the moment. The information is coming in, and as long as it isn't too complicated, which people do find it too complicated at times, but it's not really that complicated at its base level. Obviously it gets complicated when you actually have to make policies, you have to pass these policies, you have to pass acts, you have to pass laws, and all these things get complicated then at that front. But you can bring it down to a baser level, which is still very good, really, to have, because it's basically, well, you might say, well, politics is a reflection of the human society that we've created. It is still a basic information thing that you will need. Well, maybe not need, but you might want to have. Would benefit you in life, and in a lot of places. It does benefit you to have this sort of information at to hand. In your brain, to be able to say, well, yeah, I know this. It's obviously not as good as other people's. That's fine though, because you have the information. And that's what you want. It's a weird thing that you see, which is when people aren't very political, that doesn't mean you can't talk about it. Because if you are political, then that's almost worse to talk about it, because that means you're going to be essentially, most likely, preaching almost, or at least disagreeing with people who are of a different viewpoint to you. But if you're not political, then you can be, your arguments are less likely to be just, oh, they're the opposite side, attack them. And your arguments are more likely to be, oh, well, this party or this politician made some good points here, but over here they didn't. Over here that was just wrong completely, like factually, just offensive in some regards, just almost offensively misinformed. And obviously that does not mean it's the politicians don't fault or anything. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that when you talk about these things at a certain level, you can learn about these things. But if you aren't a political person, you aren't someone who almost fanatically follows a party or follows a politician, or then that leaves you open to almost people learning from you, because you don't want someone who's biased. So if you are not biased, it's not so much that people believe you're not biased, it's that you aren't biased. People will learn better from you, because they're learning about a multitude of different things, and they're learning about your true opinion as what you might call it, as a proper, as the human mind should be thinking. Not so much as, oh, I don't like this party, I don't like this form of politics, I don't like this particular law or this policy, and then just not accepting anything, just saying, no, I'm not going to learn. That's not an attitude you want to have. You don't want to say, I don't want to listen to you trying to make points. Well, of course, you could argue, well, sometimes points made by politicians and made in favour of acts are, almost at times laughably, just wrong. And that's also a thing that, it's good to talk about, because if there's a fresh mind there, it's good to learn. And basically, that's why the structure's here, to basically talk about politics. But in a, not now, oh, this was good, this was bad, this is good, this is bad. Oh, why is it bad? Because that's not what we want. We don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about actual true politics and society. So, hope you enjoyed this first episode. Obviously, this is just an introduction. So, in the next episode, we'll be really looking at the main politics, the actual politics, and, hopefully you'll enjoy listening to it if there is anyone listening to it. Currently, at the moment of recording, we can see that there are 0 viewers on most of the videos. But maybe that'll pick up. Maybe you'll be staring at the screen going, yeah, it did pick up. Or no one might be staring at the screen, or you might be staring at the screen going, no, I'm the first viewer. It actually still says 0 viewers on it, because I've clicked out. Anyway, so hopefully we'll see you next time. And thank you for listening. This has been Let's Talk About Politics and Society, a show about talking about politics and society, presented by Smith Co. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you want to view other videos, it's also good, helps out,